I'm Kathy Hersh. I am the former Community Development Director for the City of Nashua. Rotary Common is a very important historical site for the City of Nashua. Years and years ago, it was really the cradle of our industrial growth, with Salmon Brook running right next to that site. It was the home of the very first post office in the city, and it was the home of the International Paper Box Machine Company from 1903 till the 1970s. It's a very important site from the City of Nashua's perspective because of its location. It is right on Main Street, and it really is part of the gateway or the entryway into our downtown. So it's important that we have a very positive look for the City of Nashua, and that site in its abandoned state was not great for the city. In the 1980s, the New Hampshire Department of Transportation began planning for the expansion of the Effie Everett Turnpike going through Nashua. As part of that, they needed to fill 24 acres of wetlands and needed to mitigate those 24 acres by acquiring property to create or protect wetlands that were already on those properties. So I was on the Conservation Commission at the time, and it came to my attention that DOT had 24 acres they needed to compensate for, but they only had 10 acres identified. So I called the Department of Transportation and I asked to speak to the commissioner, who very graciously got on the phone with me and told me that he could not find any more property in the City of Nashua, so I offered the Conservation Commission's assistance. So between the Conservation Commission, the City Planning Department, and the Department of Transportation, we were able to identify a total of 48 acres of wetlands and uplands to compensate for that 24 acres of fill. A few years later, we got a call, again from the Department of Transportation, saying that one of those properties was not available, and did we have any other properties that we were interested in. They had other properties they had identified, but they wanted to make sure they touched base with us. It's important to note that the reason that they called was because of the relationship that we built over the first time that they were looking for mitigation property. So we asked them to put 315 Main Street, now Rotary Common, on their list. So they put it on their list, and it was site number 22 out of 22 sites. It was not a desirable site from their standpoint. It was an urban site. They would have much preferred to have bought a piece of property out in the southwest quadrant that already had wetlands on it. And in the end, chose the site of which is now Rotary Common. So we were very fortunate that DOT did that. And fast forward, I become Community Development Director in 2001, and this site is still on my mind and important to me for our city. And so we, as planners, developed a plan for the site and went up and met with the Commissioner of the Department of Transportation and proposed a park at this site. So they were very responsive to that, and we began planning for that. Fortunately, the Rotary Club of Nashua was looking for a project to celebrate their 100 years of Rotary International, and so our site became one of the sites on their radar screen, and we were fortunate that they chose our site. Congressman Charlie Bass also was interested in this and was able to garner $250,000 of federal money towards this, and DOT put in the remainder of the funds towards the $600,000 budget. So we built the first phase of the park. Now, Nashua is an extraordinary place to live because of the energy, the enthusiasm, and the commitment of its residents. We did not have all the funds to finish the park. It created an opportunity for Yvonne Dunitz, Fred T-Boom, Youssef Aboudi, and the Nashua International Sculpture Symposium Committee to add to this park, to generate private funds to create important landmarks in our city. The Labyrinth, the Holocaust Memorial, the gallery on the wall, and the sculptures that are at the park. So in 2009, the Sculpture Symposium placed all 3 sculptures that year at Rotary Common, and an additional sculpture sponsored by Mary and Dr. Charlie Goyette was also added in recent years. So this grassroots effort is really the hallmark of our amazing city, Nashua. And that's what makes Rotary Commons so special.